heroes, this is Will with another Ghost Recon Breakpoint video, and today we're going to talk about what is the best sniper rifle, what is the best DMR, and it's actually not quite that simple. You know, in previous videos I talked about use what you like, and that's true. You should absolutely use what you like, because overall there's not a huge amount of practical differences. It's all about personal taste, but there are some important differences to keep in mind. So, with that noted, let's talk about the various roles in the game. If you are doing just hitting a regular base, what sniper rifle do you want to carry with you? Well, ideally, the best all-rounder is the TAC-50. You'll know I love this one. I've talked about it in 50 million different videos. The TAC-50 is a great rifle, and here's why. It's got, this is the one I've got. It's got plus 10 range right now, so the range stat is a little higher than what it would normally be. I was hoping it would show the default base, but it doesn't, and that's okay. But anyway, it's got great range and fair mobility, and the recoil is manageable. Damage-wise, if you saw my damage testing video, it's not the best, but it's also not the worst. The TAC-50 takes 8 shots suppressed to kill out the vehicle I used in my testing. I can't remember what it was called, Mountaineer or something like that. It was a pretty beefy vehicle, so that's pretty good overall. Not bad at all. Excuse me. It's only beat out by the HDI and the M82, which both of those take 6 shots, so they do slightly more damage. This is one of those instances where the stats lie and the damage stat lies, so ignore the damage stat. It gives you a general idea of their damage classification, but doesn't actually tell you what their damage is. So, as I said, the TAC-50 is a great all-rounder. If you're going to be hitting just a regular Sentinel base, you can't go wrong with the TAC-50 for a long-range sniper rifle. This is also the best ranged rifle. It has the longest range, least amount of bullet drop. So it's and especially once the bipods work, which I have tested, the bipods still do not have an effect on bullet drop yet. We're hoping in the next patch they'll have that fixed. Who knows? And I know I've been asked this, why should a bipod affect bullet drop? It's a game, okay? It applies a stat bonus, and it applies a range stat bonus. It's just that range stat bonus doesn't actually seem to work. Now, if you are doing a wolf base, for instance, you're doing anti-personnel wolf, the TAC-50 is great, but you may want to step up to the HDI. The HDI, like the M82, has the most damage. The HDI is slightly more manageable than its counterpart, the M82. Its recoil is not near as bad. Now, you may be saying, why not just take the HDI over the TAC-50? The TAC-50 gives you the ability to equip an extended magazine, which is great. You get more shots downrange before you have to reload, and sniper rifles take longer to reload, and that's definitely true with the HDI. The HDI is very powerful, though, has comparable range, and once again, this is one I have, has a 20 range boost. Now it's like I said, the biggest disadvantage is you've got 5-round mag, and that's it. You can't have more than a 5-round mag. With the TAC-50, you get to have 10 rounds. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're doing anti-vehicle, if you're like doing one of those little faction missions where it's like blow up the vehicle, and you don't have the rocket chopper yet, this is your weapon right here. This is what you will want to use. Its recoil is manageable. Its rate of fire isn't bad. Reload speed is slow, but it's really not a huge difference from the M82. But the M82 does not have. It's just harder to handle. It is much harder to handle the M82 than the HDI. I mean, it's great to have slightly faster reload, but with that recoil, you're going to be spending more time getting your shot lined up as opposed to the HDI. So that's my recommendation there. Now, runner-ups for anti-personnel would be the Recon A1. Now, its damage classification is, do I finally? Yeah, I have enough parts to go ahead and max that. Good. There we go. All right. The Recon A1, as you can see, can equip a side rail. It means you can equip a rangefinder. I don't think you can equip the MAWL. In fact, let's go check that real quick. Let's go to a bivouac here, so I can purchase one for you to show you how you equip it. That's so annoying that it still does that. I know I've completed it. Alright, so, deploy my bivouac, hit the shop, and let's grab the Recon A1. Okay, so, there it is. Yeah, it's fine. Alright, so, looking at the Recon A1 here. It can equip a rangefinder, which gives a booster range. Combine that with the bipod, and that is not bad at all. Now, here's the advantages of this over the TAC-50. If we compare these here, now I do have higher mobility and handling, but the recoil is less. Reload speed is faster. Oh, and actually, let's check something real quick here. Gunsmith, and you can equip an extended mag. So this is a great alternative anti-personnel rifle. You'll notice the accuracy stat is lower. The video I just uploaded covers the accuracy stat. You can ignore it. It literally has no importance. So anti-personnel, if you're doing Sentinel anti-personnel, the Recon A1 is a fantastic rifle. It really is. It's reload speed and everything else makes it a really nice contender compared to the TAC-50. The biggest disadvantage to the Recon A1 is its damage. The TAC-50, it takes almost twice as many shots as the TAC-50 to destroy the vehicle in my damage tests. It takes 15 shots. That's why I say this is great for anti-personnel. And it's the mobility and handling. This is great because it's faster to aim, faster to reload, and faster to move around with. It's not going to slow you down as much. Plus, the recoil being slightly lower is kind of nice. So, this is my runner-up for best anti-personnel rifle. It is not useful for anti-vehicle. So, if you're going after vehicles, you're going to want to shoot the driver. It's just plain and simple. Now, let's talk about what I didn't say is worth your time here. So I'm going to go back to my weapons here. Going back to sniper rifles. The L115A3. This is about on par with the Recon A1. It does the same amount of damage, but you can't equip the rail accessories. It doesn't have the range. So it just doesn't make sense to use it. The Scorpio, once again, lower damage, slightly lower damage. It actually does better damage than the L115A3 and the Recon A1. In that, in vehicle damage test, it took 10 shots. So that's just slightly more than the TAC-50. But its range isn't quite there. Recoil, it's all right. But mobility and handling, you can get better with the with others. It's if you like it, use it. That's the main thing to keep in mind. But ultimately, I wouldn't recommend it. You are better off going with Attack 50 over the Scorpio, um, in my opinion. And of course, like I said, the M82 is just with its recoil, its reload speed, everything else. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. Now, let's talk about DMRs. Now, I know I don't have the SVD blueprint, um, but I have done extensive testing with it, and can say it's got great range. For a DMR, it's got great range, but with that, you're better off going with the sniper rifle, in my opinion, like the TAC 50 or anything else. Damage-wise, it just doesn't really compare. If you want a high damage DMR for whatever reason, the Scorpio Scout is right on par with the regular Scorpio. So, you can use it, absolutely. But you cannot, in this case, carry the Scorpio Scout with a sniper rifle, because they will share the same ammo pool. This shoots .338. So, Scorpio Scout, if you want a really light handling sniper rifle, that's a good option right there, especially anti-personnel. But otherwise, you're better off just carrying an actual sniper rifle. G28 Scout Wolves, not bad, but let's talk about my favorites here. There are two that I would recommend in the DMR category. And that would be the G28 and the Mark 14. Here's why. G28 has really manageable recoil, has a burst fire option, and does not share the same ammo pool as the sniper rifles. So you can carry it around with you as your secondary weapon, or even your primary, and using your sniper rifle as a secondary like I do. I have done full bases using just the G28, doing mid-range to close range with it. It's fantastic, and you can do longer range with it, especially if you get one like I have that has a high range stat. The great thing about the G28 is you can equip the rangefinder, and you can equip the MAWLDA, or whatever it's called, which is the ultimate side rail attachment for snipers. You will want a DMR that can equip this, because it has no negatives whatsoever. It literally just has positives. So keep that in mind. Now, if we're comparing this versus the Mark 14, really it all depends on your taste. If you prefer to do a stealthier playthrough and want to carry a DMR, the G28 is your weapon. The Mark 14 is great because it provides full auto instead of burst fire, so you can get more rounds downrange. I did some playthroughs with it. It's nice if you just want to be able to spray bullets. The only problem is you're still limited to the 15-round mag, like you are in the G28. So you're going to run out of ammo quick, and you're just going to spray that ammo away, and you got to hope you keep picking up enough. So it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. You can equip the MAWL on it. You can equip a bipod. So it's a very practical rifle. A DMR, I should say. Its handling is slightly better. Mobility is slightly better. Actually, handling is a fair amount better. But yeah, so it's certainly a worthwhile rifle. It's ultimately up to what you prefer. I personally prefer the G28 after having played with this enough. The G28 to me performs a little better. Damage-wise, they're pretty close to the same. The G28 took 29 shots in the vehicle damage test. The Mark 14 took 30. Now, what are you using these DMRs for? These are purely anti-personnel, especially mid-range. And when I say mid-range, I mean 300 meters or less is what I would recommend this for. I actually usually just use these within 250 or less. Otherwise, I will stick with my TAC 50. Unless I'm carrying an HDI, in that case, I will use a G28, my DMR, more. Now, let's talk about why we're not plugging any of these others. The FRF2 is just a mid-range, honestly, piece of junk. You can't equip the parts you need on it to really boost its performance. Its damage is decent for DMR. It takes 20 shots, but it's a bolt action, so you've got a slower rate of fire, and its range just isn't there. And so if you're going with a bolt action DMR as your secondary, you know, I wouldn't recommend it. It would have to serve as your primary long-range engagement rifle, but this is only good until you get something better, because I always got this one first in every time I start a new game, in technical test and beta and everything. Here, this is the first sniper rifle I got. I don't know if that's a planned thing or what, but there you go. So you're basically using it until you can get something better. Now, the SVD 63, this is the Dragunov or whatever sniper rifle, has great range, especially for a DMR stock. Its rate of fire isn't bad, but its damage is among the worst. This matches up with the G28 Scout Wolves. Daytime damage, I should say. We'll talk about that in a second. But that's 31 shots. Not horrible. It's in that range of like the G28 and the Mark 14. But its recoil feels wrong, and you can get better range out of other rifles. So, yeah, I just wouldn't recommend it personally. Scorpio Scout, you know, like I said, you're better off just carrying the actual Scorpio, unless you need something easier to move around with, which honestly the impact is minimal in actual gameplay. Let's talk about the G28 Scout Wolves. This is a reward you get. It's either a battle crate or a sharpshooter reward. It's fine for a while until you get the G28 blueprint. We'll say that. The problem is you can't roll it with any bonuses. Like, you can't get a bonus to range or anything like that. What you do get with it is a slight damage boost at night. That's what its bonuses at night mean. You get, instead of 31 shots during the day to take out my target vehicle, it took 28. So it's a very slight damage boost. It's not going to be a game changer for you. But I tell you what, it looks cool. So I actually use this for a while, and it works fine. Its recoil is very manageable. And it's easy to run around with and utilize in a closer range setting. So there's nothing wrong with using it earlier in the game. But once you get the G28 blueprint, you will probably want to stick with this. Now, you'll see I've got the Ubisoft Club G36C Scout, the DMR conversion of an AR. It's fun to use. It's nice to be able to equip a longer range scope on it, but its range stat is so low, it is just not worth using. I would not recommend using it. Even, putting on a bipod and MAWL or rangefinder, anything like that. It's just... Here's why. in damage tests, it took 137 rounds to take out the vehicle. That's insane. Okay. Um, so you're not going to be, unless you're getting perfect headshots, which is harder to do considering I tend to use DMRs as my closer range engagement rifles, which is what this is basically for. Uh, you're not going to be doing well with it, and especially versus things like wolves or the big beefcake assault guys in heavy armor. You know, that first shot is just taking out the helmet, and then it's not worth it, in my opinion. So, you know, you can still use it if you like it. Me personally, I stay away from it. Scorpio Scout Quiet. This was some bonus I got. It's like the Scorpio Scout with higher. Let's see. Let's look at Scout here. Handling, mobility, and recoil. It's all kind of low. Scorpio Scout Quiet. Handling, a little better. Recoil, a little better. Range and accuracy are higher. But you can't equip all the parts on it like you can. Well, actually, you can't on that either. So never mind. You can equip a bipod, and I believe that's it. But ultimately, it's not worth it. It looks cool once again, but it's just not worth it, in my opinion. So, let's see. Was there anything I missed that I haven't gotten yet? No, that's it. So, let's recap here my opinions. If you're doing anti-personnel, long-range sniping, the TAC-50 with the Recon A1 being a close second. If you're doing anti-material or wolves, the HTI. The HTI is also great for behemoths and things like that. Definitely take the HTI versus behemoths because that reload time in the smaller mag is not going to play a huge difference for you. For DMRs, G28 or Mark 14 are your best bets. If you're not going to carry a sniper rifle, for whatever reason you want to carry a DMR, then I would say Scorpio Scout is probably your best bet there because of its damage. It's sniper rifle damage, but a little bit more easier to handle. It's a nice rifle, but you're not going to be able to carry both the Scorpio Scout and a sniper rifle because they share the same ammo pool because they're 338. So that is what I got for you. There's no really one best sniper rifle. It all depends on your role and your personal preferences. My personal preferences, I tend to stick for the TAC-50, occasionally using the Recon A1, and then the HTI is what I take when I'm taking beefier targets. And then I carry the G28 as a backup. Now, that's not saying you can't carry an assault rifle. I actually do plan on doing some assault rifle testing once variable zoom scopes work and I collect all the blueprints. I personally love the Mark 17. I swore by it in Wildlands as my secondary weapon. Of course, back then you could equip a short barrel, and that's what I did. I used it with the short barrel. But yeah, so once I collect all the blueprints and they have scopes working the way you'd expect, then we will definitely be testing assault rifles as backups. I will also eventually be testing SMGs, but I tend to use them less now, especially because really I am very rarely getting close enough to justify the use of an SMG. The only time I take an SMG is if I know I'm doing an infiltration, where I am going to be sneaking around inside the base and need something with a little more power output than a pistol, uh, but still quiet. In cases like that, the Vector, or maybe the P90 are usually my go-tos. But I still have yet to get all the others, so as you can see, to really do some testing. So hopefully this video helps you decide what to go for. Definitely, definitely, definitely try these out for yourself and get a feel for them. See which one feels best to you, because ultimately the differences are relatively minimal, except in a few cases. You know, you may find that the recoil for the M82 just feels right to you. No problem, use it. Its damage is comparable to the HTI. You know, this is not a min-maxing game like the Division is. It plays a little bit like a loot shooter, but really the differences are pretty minimal, comparatively speaking. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. You know, the enemies still go down with a headshot typically. So at least ones without heavy helmets do. So yeah, just make a nice, clear, informed decision. Test stuff out for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. So hopefully this helps you. Really appreciate you guys watching my videos and liking and commenting. Let me know what else you would like to see. As I said, I do have plans for showcasing assault rifles and SMGs at some point as they fit into a sniper playthrough. So just keep that in mind. Once scopes are fixed, the variable zoom scopes are fixed, we will be doing all that testing. And once I get get the bulk of the blueprints and can get all the weapons for testing. Now I do not currently have plans for testing LMGs, shotguns, or pistols. Especially not shotguns. I just don't care for shotguns. For me, why take a shotgun when I can take an SMG? Or why take a shotgun when I have the G28? So, really appreciate your support. Visit my website, classicwfl.com. Check out my art, my music, my photography, my blog, where I write about a lot of things in the world. I write about code if you're interested in web design development. I write about art, music, and personal stuff, and gaming, and everything under the sun. And you know, and also check out my t-shirts I have for sale. I have some slightly offensive t-shirts, and let me know. I am actually considering creating a dedicated channel slash even website for these types of guides. And I won't just be talking about Ghost Recon Breakpoint and the like. So if you think that's a great idea, would love to see a dedicated site for this content besides my YouTube channel, let me know in the comments. I've got a really great theme in mind. I think you'll all appreciate it. So, alright, guys, that's all I got. And if you're lucky, maybe I'll see you.